I'm Mr. MegaManFan. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. You know all the things to do. Today I'm going to be looking at a stack of Sega Genesis games that I need to test. And one of the recent comments I received on one of my YouTube videos was that the person watching enjoyed the fact that I talked and told stories and had anecdotes about the various things that I was playing in the video. I believe specifically it was when I was testing the Atari 2600 paddles, the new ones that came packed in with an Atari 4-in-1 cartridge for different paddle games. So, in the spirit of that, knowing that someone enjoyed those types of videos, I'm trying to do something similar here, and I'll talk a little bit about each of these games as I test them. I picked these up at various times in various places. The ones with the little white sticker up in the top corner, those came from Ben's Game Zone. The Berenstain Bears one, that came from a Half Price Books. A couple of the loose cartridges came from a video game store in Foley, Alabama, I want to say. And the Jeopardy game was one I just picked up at random on eBay, but I was just waiting until I had a decent enough stack of these put together that I wanted to cover all of them at once instead of doing individual videos for each one. Just more convenient for me and probably more fun for you, the viewers, since there will be a variety of games featured in this video. And since this will release on a Thursday, it is, in a way, a resurrection of my old Genesis Does series when I used to release a new video every Thursday covering one Sega Genesis game or accessory. I could always go back to that, but I felt like having a show I had to do every single week on a specific day of the week was a little too limiting. I wanted more variety than that. So you may be wondering at this point why I bought Sonic the Hedgehog 1, considering that's a game almost every Sega Genesis collector would have. And yes, I did have it, but I also had it as a packing game that said, not for resale. What I was hoping for was maybe a different ROM on this cartridge, since it was one that was actually sold at retail as a Sega Classics title. But it's the same US North American ROM that we all know, and you can tell by the fact that the clouds are not scrolling in the background. That's one of the revisions that got made when it was released later in Japan. Yes, it actually came out in the United States first, in Japan later. If you really want to see it, though, the first Sonic collection on GameCube has a code that you can enter that allows you to swap between different versions of the game, and you can see the one with the background clouds scrolling, and it also has some other minor bug fixes in it as well. So anyway, this ends up just being a package variant as opposed to a ROM variant, but still one that I'm happy to have. Next up on the list, we have Primal Rage, which, until I saw it at Ben's, I was not aware that this was a cardboard box game. Some games came in the beloved hard plastic clamshell, some came in a cardboard box, and a few lucky ones came in both if you're really trying to collect variants of everything. But I didn't have Primal Rage, so even if there's a hard shell version, I'm happy with the cardboard box. And it came in a box protector anyway, so I'm going to be able to keep the box in nice shape even when I have the cartridge out to play. And I know the Primal Rage series doesn't get the love that other games do in the fighting genre, like Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter, but I think it's alright. I wouldn't say it's the greatest game I've ever played, or that this is even the best port of it that exists, but it's perfectly serviceable. I know that's damning it with faint praise, right? But if you're looking for a way to kill some time with a fun, just goofy animals attacking each other type of fighting game, Primal Rage will scratch that itch. You're not going to have the greatest combos in the world, or the greatest moveset in the world, or the greatest animation or sound in the world. It's just a game to scratch that itch. I would say the same about RBI Baseball 94. This isn't the best baseball game you can play. It's just a baseball game on Sega Genesis. And just to test it out and make sure that it works, I chose Home Run Derby because I don't feel like playing a full 9 innings or, God forbid, an entire season, but I don't mind just standing at the bat, swinging at some balls that are coming out of this pitching machine, and seeing how many home runs I can get. That's really all I need to ensure that this game works. By the way, if I've never said so, I'm a big Cubs fan. Fly the W, go Cubs, go. Looks like they're on their way to the wild card in the playoffs this year, so hopefully they get on a run at the end of the season and keep it going. And if you get some momentum going into the playoffs and get all the way to the World Series, anything is possible. But my buddy Tristan is a Giants fan, and they're doing better than the Cubs, so got to give him his props as well and say good luck to the Giants and hope they make it to the World Series. And if not, hopefully the Cubs do. And if we both meet in the World Series, then that's a problem. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Anyway, here's Berenstain, not Berenstein, if you're still out there having that Mandela effect of which way it's spelled. It is actually Berenstain. You're living in that timeline. So this appears to be a Sega Club exclusive from the box art, which I didn't know anything about because I didn't grow up with a Sega Genesis, didn't even play one until college. So if there were exclusive games sold through a catalog to families or individual gamers, I was not privy to that information. In fact, when my roommate had a Sega Genesis in college, it was a 50-50 endeavor where we each bought half of it from a pawn shop, and then he decided college wasn't for him, and he bought out my half and took the Sega Genesis with him. So it would be many more years again before I would get to play Sonic the Hedgehog 2 or NHL 94 or any of those other games that we had in the dorm room. And here we have Jeopardy, which honestly I bought strictly for the nostalgia value because I love this music. I was a big fan watching it when Alex Trebek was the host up until his health issues caused him to retire, and then sadly he's no longer with us now. So I really enjoyed the show as a kid, but time marches on as it does for all of us. And honestly, if I was going to play Jeopardy, I would play it on a PC, not a Genesis, because having to key in your answers to the clues one letter at a time instead of typing them out is incredibly tedious to me. Here we have Stimpy's Invention for Sega Genesis. This was a loose card I found when we were on vacation for Easter earlier this year. And yes, I prefer complete in-box games, but it seemed like a reasonable price for a Ren and Stimpy game, so I decided I would go with it loose because maybe later on I'll upgrade it to a complete in-box. Once in a while you just take a shot like that when you find something for a good price. And this appears to be just a rote side-scrolling platformer. Not really much to say about Stimpy's invention. You apparently just go along and collect the pieces of his invention until it's done. The last one we're looking at here today is Shove It, which I know my friend Ryan will be a fan of because there are many JonTron related jokes, and he'll probably tell one of them in the comments section about this. But if you've ever played Sokoban or Boxel, this is the exact same game. The puzzle game where you're given a number of boxes that you have to move to specifically marked spaces, and you're not told exactly how to do it, just to do it. There are 2 limitations. Once a box is in a spot against a wall, you can't pull it away from the wall. You've shoved it into place. And the other limitation is that in this version at least, you can't retrace your steps. If you get locked in a position where the puzzle is uncompletable, you just have to start the whole thing over. But generally, your strategy here is to move boxes into positions where you can continue to shove them, because if you shove them into a corner where you can't move them again, or next to a box where you can't move them again, you're SOL. So you kind of have to think ahead before you start shoving the box, whether or not there's still going to be room around the box to make another maneuver. It just forces you to apply a little bit of critical thinking and plan your moves ahead, which is a good way to play any puzzle game. Like with Tetris, you don't just want to play the pieces that you've got on the board. You have to anticipate where the next piece is coming from and where you're going to fit it in. I'm Mr. MegaManFan, and I hope you enjoyed me testing these Sega Genesis games. As always, thank you for watching.